Welcome to episode 74 of Norse Myths, Legends, and Folktales. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we learned how Kriemhild weds Etzel, gives him a son, and then coaxes the king to invite Huns to a festival to get her revenge for Siegfried's death, in part 1 of the Nibelungen Tragedy. It fell that the 13th year after Siegfried's death, Queen Etzel of the Huns died, and King Etzel, who was a heathen, sought another bride. Rudiger, the rich margrave named the Good, was sent as envoy to Worms to win Kriemhild, whereat Gunther was made glad, because Etzel was a mighty monarch. But grim Hagen grew angry, fearing that the widow of Siegfried would stir up enmity against them. Kriemhild ceased not to grieve for him whom she loved, but her brothers and Queen Uta urged her to be wed to the mighty monarch of the Huns, and at length she gave her consent. Then sent she to Hagen for the Nibelung treasure, which she desired to distribute among the Hun warriors, but he refused to give it up, saying, "She shall not give it unto those who are my foemen." Kriemhild was made wroth thereat, yet had she a portion of the treasure left, and she gave great gifts to the knights who came with Rudiger. The widowed bride had lost not her great beauty, despite her long and deep sorrow, and when she came to the court of Etzel, the courtiers vowed that she was even more fair than was Queen Helche. She kissed the king, and when she was wed, she was kissed by 12 noble knights, among whom was Blözel, the brother of Etzel, and the great warrior King Dietrich of Bern, who had taken refuge at Etzel's court when his uncle Emmerich had by treacherous doings possessed himself of the kingdom of the Nibelungs. So it came that Kriemhild had friendship and service from many strong warmen. Great was her power. All the treasure that Hagen had left her gave to the knights, and at length she said unto herself, "Now I am more powerful, and can strike against the enemies of Siegfried, for whom my heart still calleth." As the days went past and the years, her desire for vengeance grew stronger. There was not a Hun knight who would not do her willing service, yet none did conceive of her fierce intent. A son was born to King Etzel, and his name was Ottlieb. Like was he in countenance to fair Kriemhild, and the king loved her more dearly because of her child. So at length, when she craved of him a boon, he said that he would grant it willingly. And the queen besought him that he should invite envoys to Worms, and invite unto a festival at his court Gunther and all his knights. As she desired, so it was done. Kriemhild spoke in secret to the envoys, and bade them not to leave Hagen behind. Gunther received the message gladly, nor suspected aught of Kriemhild's evil desire. But Hagen warned the king in council with his knights, saying, "We dare not go from here unto the court of Etzel. Our lives are in peril, for Kriemhild forgets not who slew her husband Siegfried. Her memory is long." Thereupon Gunther's brothers taunted Hagen. "Thou knowest thine own guilt," one said. "Therefore thou hast need to protect thyself well. 'Twere better thou didst remain at Worms, while those who fear not sojourn among the Huns." Hagen was made wroth. "No man among you feareth less to venture forth than I do, and with thee shall I go if ye are determined to visit the court of Etzel." So it was arranged that they should set out forthwith, and Hagen spake after that of their journey as the death ride. Queen Uta had great desire that her sons should tarry in the kingdom. "I have dreamt an evil dream," she said. "Methought that all the birds in fair Burgundy were slain." "He who is led by dreams," said Hagen, "is without honor and no hero. Let us unto the festival of Kriemhild." Many women wept when they set forth. With Gunther rode 1,060 knights, and his army did number full 9,000 men. When they reached the Danube River, they found it to be high and running swift. Hagen sought it for the ferryman, who desired not to take them across unless he were given rich reward. While searching, he saw bathing in a brook certain water fairies. He went stealthily towards them, and possessed himself of their vestments. They had need, therefore, to make known to the fierce knight how he and all who were with him would fare upon their journey. One did promise that they would prosper and win great honour, but another said, "'Twere better to turn back. Ye are doomed, who rideth into the court of Etzel rideth to death, nor shall one return again unto Worms save the priest." Then Hagen met with the ferryman, and slew him for his boldness. He seized the boat, and returning unto Gunther, he ferried across the knights and all their followers. As he crossed with the last company of men, he held the priest among them, and remembering the prophecy of the water fairy, he seized him there and flung him overboard. But although the man could not swim, he was driven over the waves and reached the shore in safety. When Hagen saw that the priest could return unto Burgundy, he knew that the foretelling of the water fairy was true, and said then to himself, "These our warriors are all dead men." When they landed, Hagen splintered the boat in pieces. He was resolute indeed, and made certain that no man should turn back. The Bavarians came against them to avenge the ferryman's death, but they were beaten back, and Gunther and his war men marched forward until they came unto Belchlaren, where Rudiger the Good gave them generous and hospitable entertainment and many gifts. Tidings of their approach were borne unto Kriemhild. "The day of reckoning is at hand," she said unto herself. "Fain would I now slay the man who did destroy my happiness. He shall pay dearly because that he hath made me to sorrow." Aged Hildebrand spake unto Dietrich of Bern of the coming of the Burgundians, and counselled that he should ride forth to greet them. Hagen was a dear war friend to Dietrich aforetime, and there was goodwill betwixt them. So the fierce knight of Burgundy gave his friend warm greetings. Dietrich was made glad, yet did he inwardly grieve when he beheld the warriors from Worms. "Know ye not," he said, "that Kriemhild hath ceased not to sorrow for Siegfried? This very day I did hear her lamenting because that he was dead." Gunther reasoned that Etzel had bidden them thither with right royal welcome, and that Kriemhild had also sent warm greetings, but Hagen knew well that sorrow awaited them. The Hun king knew not that his queen plotted against his guest, and his welcome was hearty and frank, but Kriemhild was haughty and cold. She kissed but her brother Giselher, who had no part in Siegfried's death. Unto Hagen she spake, saying, "Hast thou brought hither the hoard of the Nibelungs, which thou didst rob from me?" Hagen answered, "I have touched it not. It is hidden below the Rhine waters. There shall it lie until the day of judgment." "So thou hast brought it not," she said coldly. "Many a day I have grieved for it, and for the noble knight whose possession it was." "I have brought but weapons and my armor," said Hagen defiantly. "I need not gold," Kriemhild sighed, "but I would fain have recompense for murder and robbery." Then were the Burgundians, at the queen's desire, asked to lay down their arms, but Hagen made refusal, for himself and the others, saving that it was the custom of the Burgundians to be fully armed on the first 3 days of a festival. It chanced that soon afterwards Kriemhild urged certain of her knights to slay Hagen, but they forbore, fearing as they did his dark brows and his quick flashing eyes. When night fell, the guests were conducted to their dwellings. Grim Hagen and Volker the minstrel, fearing the treachery of Kriemhild, sought not to take rest. They clad themselves in their bright armor. Then they took their swords and shields and stood outside the door to guard their companions. After a time, Volker took his fiddle, and sitting upon a stone within the porch, he played merry airs which gladdened the hearts of those who were within, and they forgot their anxieties. Then he gave them soothing music and sweet, so that it lulled them to sleep. Thereafter he took up his shield again, and stood beside Hagen at the door to guard the Burgundians against Kriemhild's warmen. In the midst of the night, the fierce Huns made stealthy approach, but when they beheld the knights keeping guard, they turned away. Volker desired to challenge them to combat, but Hagen forbade him, and Volker cried out to the followers of Kriemhild, "Cowards! Would you venture hither to slay men in their sleep?" They answered him not. Kriemhild grieved because that her plan had failed, but she ceased not to plot against the guest. A tournament was held at Etzel's courtyard, and Volker slew a Hun warrior. But for the king's vengeance would have been taken for that cause. "He hath been slain without intent," Etzel said. "Let my guests go forth unarmed." Kriemhild then spake to Dietrich of Bern and old Hildebrand, beseeching their aid to encompass the death of Hagen. Hildebrand answered, "One man is not sufficient to overcome him." And Dietrich answering her said, "Speak not of this again, O Queen, I pray thee. These thy kinsmen have never done aught against me. 'Twill bring thee shame if thou dost hurt any of them, because they are now thy guests. It is not for me to avenge the death of Siegfried." Thereafter did Kriemhild plead with Blozal, King Etzel's brother, making him promise of rich reward, and he promised to achieve purpose. He went forth to attack Gunther's men with 1,000 of his followers. Dankwart was in command when Blozal fell upon them without warning, and fierce was the conflict. Meanwhile, Gunther and Hagen and the other knights sat at the feast with King Etzel. Kriemhild caused her son Ottlieb to enter and sit nigh to Hagen and the king's men. "Lo, here cometh my only son to be among his kinsmen." Hagen loved not the lad. "He hath a weak face," he said. "I could never be a guest at his court." Suddenly Dankwart rushed into the feasting hall. He alone of all the war men had escaped the sword of Blozal, whom he slew. His body was red with the blood of foemen. "Why dost thou tarry thus, brother Hagen?" he cried. "Our men are slaughtered in their dwelling." "Guard the door," cried Hagen. And seizing his sword, he smote off the head of Prince Ottlieb before his father's eyes. Then he slew the lad's tutor, and cut off the right hand of a minstrel who had borne Kriemhild's message unto Worms. Volker drew his sword also and made slaughter. In vain did the 3 kings, Etzel and Gunther and Dietrich, make endeavor to subdue the fray. Many Hun knights were slain, but the Burgundians were seized with battle fury and sought dire vengeance. They cut their way up and down the hall, and there was none who could stand against them. And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.